Welcome back, everybody. This is James Bouligny. I'm your COVER1 host for today, but I do have my co-hosts, Paul Harris and Ryan Chadwick. How are we doing, guys?
Oh, happy to be here, man.
Hey, what's up, James?
All right, and today we're going to kind of look at the Whataburger Super Team, some of the other players that made the list, some players to look out for in the future. Before we do, let's hear a quick word from Whataburger.
Whataburger's Buffalo Ranch Chicken Strip Sandwich is back.
Chicken strips. Chicken strips. Chicken strips.
Ranch.
Ranch.
Buffalo. Monterey Jack cheese.
The Whataburger Buffalo Ranch Chicken Strip Sandwich. A beautiful masterpiece.
All right, let's look at some quarterbacks on this list real fast. We got four from kind of the area and in between the, we got Contra Valley, South Plains, and Big Country. We got four players or quarterbacks from that on this list. We got Braden Henry from Abilene, Wyatt Holstrom from Seminole, Armando Lujan from Sunray, and Holden Phillips from Friendship. Chadwick, you want to talk about Holden Phillips? He had some incredible numbers this year.
I mean, first off, anytime your quarterback's throwing 57 touchdowns in a season, your team's going to be pretty good. I mean, unless you have the absolute most worthless defense in the world, which the Tigers did not. Of course, Phillips led the Tigers to an undisputed District 2-6A championship, a by-district win, and then they almost took down South Lake Carroll in the area round. And I don't know if y'all remember or not, but South Lake Carroll lost in the state game. So this Friendship Tigers game was pretty good, and a big reason why was Holden Phillips. He's incredibly accurate with the football. He had over 4,500 yards passing, 57 touchdowns. Correct me if I'm wrong, he had less than 10 interceptions too, right?
I actually have his stats for us.
All right, yeah, go ahead. Read them off, James.
He was, out of 349 attempts, he completed 261 of them for 70. It was like a 74.9% completion percentage, 4,438 yards, 57 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Which, I mean, he's thrown to Leighton Stone and Chase Campbell and all those guys, so he's just put up monster numbers. He's actually Mr. Texas Football Player of the Week for Week 2 this year, where he put up like 500 yards or something like that. Something crazy. 8 touchdowns. Something crazy.
And his numbers were so good that, Joey McGuire and Texas Tech took notice of him late. Like, this is a one-year starter, right? Of course, he sat behind some pretty other great Friendship quarterbacks before him. But because of just his stats and the season he had this year, he actually earned a preferred walk-on status for the Red Raiders.
Yeah, and then let's go to Sunray real quick. Armando Lujan, he kind of made waves all season long. Played a little 2A, or I guess a big 2A, little school compared to Friendship. But he had 3,400 yards, 34 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. On the ground, he had 526 yards, 13 touchdowns. Had just monster numbers for them. I think everybody kind of expected them to go to the state game, but they met up with another very talented team.
Post Antelopes.
Exactly. And just they got beat, but hey, he had a fantastic year. And then let's go to some running backs real fast. We are including our private schools too. Chase Garnett for Liberty Christian up there in Argyle. He had 1,500 yards, 22 touchdowns, and then Grayson Rigdon made it as well, and Jackson Austin from Lubbock Cooper made it as a running back. I didn't see complete stats, but in 5 games he had like 500-something yards.
Well, I know that he also was hurt for a game or two at one point, but Lubbock Cooper was an interesting team this year. That's a team that was state ranked at the beginning of the season, beat Lucas Lovejoy, a Metroplex school. Everyone thought, hey, maybe this is Cooper's year. And then by the end of district, dropped the last 2 district games, fell down to a 3rd seed, and was a second-round exit. So with that being said, still had a bunch of talented guys on that roster, including a receiver who made this Whataburger Super Team.
And before we get to receivers, let's talk about Grayson Rigdon. I don't think, Paul, you can probably talk about this a little bit. Played at Richland Springs his freshman year. No, Strawn.
Junior high, yeah.
Played at Richland Springs junior high, then Strawn, then Benjamin, now at Columbus. Have we ever seen a kid make it from the smallest 6-man to a big, 3A 11-man school. Now he's going to a D1 to go play football and basketball at Wyoming.
It's a unique deal. I mean, Maverick McIver, former Central quarterback, he actually played his freshman year of six-man football.
You're going to talk about him later, too.
Yeah, but you don't really think of Maverick as a six-man guy. You know, he made it big as an 11-man guy, and he's gone on to a great college career. Got one more year left now at Western Kentucky. As far as Grayson Rigdon, though, he made his name as a six-man guy, and I'll admit it, I was kind of skeptical when he went to Columbus.
So was I.
Yeah, as great as everybody talked about him, I've never seen him play live, but it's all the accolades he had. I was like, well, we'll see how he does at a big-time 11-man, and obviously I was wrong. The kid can just play, So, I mean, he's just a football player, and definitely, hopefully he can help other six-man guys get a look,
Now, Chadwick, you actually saw him play at Benjamin at State and at Columbus. What did you see from him?
Man, he's just hard-nosed runner with the football. When Columbus needed to play, he was there to make it. He had 3 touchdowns in the first half and what ended up being just a massive blowout in that victory. I think the most impressive thing to me was just his transition to being one of the shortest guys on the field when he was playing quarterback for Benjamin to being one of the biggest guys on that Columbus roster because, he grew, right? And it's like he grew into a football player who can pretty much play with anyone. Now, say what you want about him basically jumping schools, but hey, he got better and better opportunities, and now he's going to go play D1 ball.
I think it proves that there are some six-man guys out there that can play at the 11-man level, and just because you play a different kind of football as six-man doesn't mean that you're not an athlete.
I mean, but that's just like saying Cason Brown couldn't play at Central. Yeah, he could. Of course, Cason Brown's the Reagan County quarterback / receiver. He's going to play D1 at Arizona. He could start anywhere in the Concho Valley.
No, I think several of them, several of these kids could jump from 6-man to, 11-man and make an impact. I mean, let's talk about Brandon Sherwood, put up over 4,000 yards. Do we think he would have any trouble hooking on with an 11-man program?
No.
Well, what's unique about Grayson is if he never leaves Benjamin, he's probably not getting the D1 interest,
Right.
I mean, he got the chance to prove he could do it at the 11-man level. A lot of these 6-man kids they just don't get that chance, So
Right.
Werner Sherwood, he's probably going to finish his career at Robert Lee, I'm sure. And so.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, so he'd have to go into a smaller college, but Grayson Rigdon was able to get that chance to show he could do it, and then college coaches.
Well, and maybe this will encourage some of these, maybe D2 programs. Hey, maybe we need to look at some of these 6-man guys and say, just look at their athletic ability over, you've heard he's a good football player, but he might not be a good athlete. We've seen players be successful doing that. I think maybe Chris Borland kind of pops out. Maybe he's just a great, linebacker. But now that we've seen that you can make that jump, maybe these schools will maybe take a look at some of these 11-man guys or 6-man guys who have really just jumped off the page.
Well, and I know for a fact guys like Coach Gersh at ASU are always looking for guys who are just dedicated to the program. A great example of a small school guy making it is, Braden Wilcox. He's one of the Rams' best running backs now, and he's a Cristobal Cougar. So, I think that it's a benefit for any college coach to look at some of these smaller schools. And, of course, if you're in West Texas, they're all small schools, right? I feel like West Texas gets, looked over a lot. And I also think that's the entire purpose of this show, just trying to put that spotlight and saying, hey, these guys can play football too, So, I agree with you, James. I think guys like Grayson Rigdon's story, and, of course, he's the best of the best in this. But, maybe, man. Maybe we'll finally get some recruiters out here in West Texas.
I mean, it's not just football, too. I mean, it's basketball as well. We look at some of these, top 25, some of these, standings and everything, and we don't see some of these teams on there that we figured would be on there. I think the Cristobal girls are one of the biggest snubs on that list right now because they returned pretty much. I think they lost 2 starters and then a bench player, but they still have a very talented group, and, a lot. I think they're going to jump off the page at a lot of people when they do hit the playoffs and they do make a deep run because of how good they are, and they haven't been given that notoriety yet in that list.
They just got to keep winning.
Yeah,
that's all it comes down to.
But all right, let's move on to some receivers here. Rylan Bradford from Abilene. He had 49 catches for 1,034 yards, 13 touchdowns. Quentin Brown and Jalen Hawkins, they both play at Liberty Christian. I think Quentin Brown is playing at I want to say San Diego State, and Jalen Hawkins is playing at Boise State. So factory right there. Brown had 56 catches for 771 yards, 9 touchdowns. Jalen Hawkins had 65 catches for just over 1,000 yards and 16 touchdowns. And then Michael Deaver from Lubbock Cooper, 59 catches for 1,020 yards, 14 touchdowns. Some players right there. Paul, you said you saw this Abilene kid when they played Central here. You want to kind of talk about him real fast?
Yeah, man. I mean, I thought he was the real deal. I mean, he was a heck of a receiver, And then the same thing for their quarterback, Braden Henry. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that guy was the athlete back there at quarterback. I mean, of course, they scored 60 points in that game against Central, but I mean, both those guys were just so athletic, and they just seemed like a step faster than Central, So those are the two guys that I definitely jumped off the field to me.
Yeah, speaking of faster, Bradford runs a 10.5.9 100-meter dash.
Yeah, I believe that.
He's got some speed to him.
And he's big. Like, he's really tall. So, another guy on that list, Michael Deaver. Of course, he had 1,200 yards receiving, but that's not even the truest stat that young man can do. He also returned several punts and kicks for touchdowns this season. He was an integral part of their running games. He did a bunch of end-arounds, and he overall was the Pirates' playmaker. So he actually accepted D1 offer to go play at Texas Tech. I don't know if he'll play much next year as a freshman, but he's got a pretty bright future ahead of him as well.
All right, and then moving on to the only defensive player that, as far as the teams we covered and in the area that we've covered, is C.J. Witten. 112 tackles, 15 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 15 quarterback hurries, 1 interception, 2 fumble recoveries. I mean, he was tasked with guarding or with, spying Sawyer Anderson in that state game when I went to Waco, and he did a fantastic job out there. He's going to play at Rice. He's a fantastic player for his dad and everything over there. But before we go any further, though, let's hear a quick word from Jim Bass Ford.
Right now at Jim Bass, scan our QR code and find great deals on cars and trucks. Right now, you can get a brand new 2024 Ford Ranger, just $31,777.
You can only get deals like this at Jim Bass Ford, Houston, Hart and Arden Road, or 24/7 at bassbunch.com, or you can scan this QR code.
It's QR code, boss.
That's what I said, QR code or QR code.
All right, now we're going to look at some of the other players that were in this magazine that were on these lists. Adam Schobel from Columbus. He was Grayson Rigdon's quarterback down there. His dad is actually the coach out there. They won state. His dad actually played in the NFL. He's got NFL bloodlines. I think his uncle played in the NFL too. And his brother is also, I think, in there, John Schobel. I think he's in that list as well. Sawyer Anderson, the Parish Episcopal quarterback. He 65% completions. He had 255 completions for 393 attempts, 5,134 yards, 49 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. That's a crazy stat. Quinn Murphy, the Liberty Christian quarterback, 218 completions for 332 attempts, 66% completion percentage, 3,055 yards, 43 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and Primus. I'm not gonna attempt this first name because I'm gonna butcher it.
Midland High kid.
Offensive guard, big time player for him. Primus is his last name. They probably know who we're talking about just from the last name. It's a pretty unique last name there. Jalen Pyle, he's a receiver for Parish Episcopal. He had 1,300 yards and 19 touchdowns. And then Cedric Ross. Chad, we're going to talk about Cedric Ross real fast from Lubbock Estacado. I know that he made the show several times just from outstanding runs he had running back for him.
You want to talk about, if we were considering the South Plains guy in our overall COVER1 MVP awards.
Which we're going to do next year.
Yeah, which we are going to do next year. Like, of course, we're still in the process of building it. But Cedric Ross, he was integral to the Matadors' offense, defense. He played both ways. He was their dynamic kick returner. Him and I would argue the even more talented person who was going to be my selection was Bobby Ross. Like he started linebacker, was their starting running back, had 5,000 total yards for Lubbock Estacado. But that tandem between Cedric Ross and Bobby Ross, like whenever Estacado turned the corner, and it's like Coach Ward's offense finally clicked for them, they started not only beating opponents, but they started rolling opponents, right? And so this is a team that beat Jim Ned, and we all know how disciplined and successful that program is. But they also won an outright district championship when no one expected them to this year. This was supposed to be the rebuilding year. In fact, that there are two players that they said would do anything were Cedric Ross and Bobby Ross. But if you want to talk about dynamic special teams, all around offensive, firework, that was Cedric Ross this year.
All right. And then the last guy, another Liberty Christian kid, Cooper Witten. That's Jason Witten's younger son. This goes back to that football player and athlete. I think CJ is a better football player. I think Cooper's a better athlete. And I'm pretty sure Tennessee offered him, which would be pretty cool. Obviously, because Jason Witten played in Tennessee. But he had, I don't think he played. I did think he got hurt. But he did come back and play a little bit. He had 15 catches for 263 yards, 7 touchdowns, 45 tackles, 1 sack, 5 interceptions. Which, gosh, he's a ball. Even last year he had a few interceptions as a freshman on varsity. And then let's get back to Holden Phillips. He was week 2 Mr. Texas Football Player of the Week. 532 yards, 8 touchdowns. Who did they play week 2, Chadwick? Do you remember? Do you remember who Friendship played?
Was that the out-of-town game?
I'm not sure. It didn't. I thought it would give us some numbers
week
there.
1 was that close loss. To be honest, man, football season has just crunched.
No, we cover a lot. So.
Yeah. But I can't remember it off the top of my head. But with receivers like he's got, it's not surprising, Which completely snubbed off this list.
That's true. Chase Campbell.
Leighton Stone, his counterpart, D1 commit, wasn't on the super team, but he was on the Rising Stars or whatever portion. But Chase Campbell had better stats than anyone on his team. Did everything in the run game, pass game. Like, he threw some touchdowns. Like, he caught some touchdowns. He returned some punts. Like, if anyone I thought would be a lock-in for a list like this, it'd be Chase Campbell. I would be highly surprised if he doesn't receive multiple D1 offers next year. Of course, he is just a junior, so maybe that had something to do with it. But look out, because Chase Campbell's going to make noise again next year for the Friendship Tigers.
All right, and we're going to move on. We're going to talk about some college news, but before we do, let's hear a quick word from Carpet Tech.
This month only, mix and match cleaning services and save big with Carpet Tech. For example, get your carpet clean, save 10%. Get your carpet and tile clean, save 15%. Or get your carpet and tile and air ducts cleaned, save 20%. The more you clean, the more you save. Call Carpet Tech today or schedule online at carpettech.com.
If your home is in a wreck, call Carpet Tech, yeah.
Okay, we did have some college news, I guess kind of breaking news a little bit. For the San Angelo area, Maverick McIver, he entered the transfer portal from Abilene Christian. He went to Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers. You want to kind of talk about him real fast, Paul?
Yeah, he had an incredible year at Abilene Christian, led him to their best season ever as an FCS school. And, he has 1 year of eligibility left. He, put himself in the transfer portal. He was offered by Wake Forest, Miami of Ohio, North Texas. He settled on Western Kentucky, and he just made that announcement this morning. So, it's been a long, winding journey. Like we said, started at 6-man Fort Davis.
Where did he play as a 6-man?
Fort Davis.
Okay.
And then was wide receiver at Central, broke out his junior year, got hurt in week 2 of his senior year, and then never worked out at Texas Tech, got hurt, and then finally found his footing at Abilene Christian, had an awesome year there last year, was leading the nation in passing until he got hurt the very last game of the season, not a serious injury.
Almost beat Texas Tech.
Yeah, almost beat Tech, man. Came within, I guess, a 2-point conversion of it or something. So
about 52-51, right?
Yeah.
But you know what? Awesome year for San Angelo. Had over 20 offers coming out of here, so it's great to see him having some college success because we all knew the potential he had, and now he's got 1 more year left, so I'll be rooting for Western Kentucky for randomly. I never thought I would.
I had a couple of his stats over here. He 312 for 499, 62.5% completion, 3,847 yards, 30 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He had 506 yards in the overtime loss to Texas Tech, and he had 9 multi-touchdown games, including 5 against Central Arkansas. He led an offense that averaged 35.5 points per game. McIver had 296 yards per game, and his overall quarterback passer rating was 144.3. So he puts up good numbers, and he had a very good year for Abilene Christian. So I mean, I don't think he's going to have any less success, moving on to Western Kentucky.
Yeah, I think he accomplished everything he could in those 2 years at Abilene Christian, and I guess he just wanted to try to take it up one notch. He'll be playing in Conference USA with schools like UTEP, and so.
Oh, and he proved he can do it, though.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna lie, we could have used him this year.
That's very true.
Chadwick, your heart kind of racing in that Texas Tech game?
Which one? The Abilene Christian one? Yes. Yeah. That would have been great for MacGyver, horrible for us.
I mean, but you had to kind of root for the guy, right? I mean,
I was not rooting for the guy.
I mean,
I was like, this is about to be the most embarrassing moment in Texas Tech sports history.
he played it Central, man.
Hey, yes, and like I said, root for the guy, but I was rooting for the Red Raiders.
Right? No, I mean, but for the individual, I mean, it had to be good to see him be successful. He had a heck of a
game, man. He had like 4 touchdown passes, 506 yards. He was almost perfect on the day. Completely shredded Tech secondary in that second half. Was one of the big reasons why Tech completely reworked their defensive scheme moving forward after that, because and Abilene Christian did exactly what they were meant to do. Pointed out the holes in Tech's defense. So of course the Red Raiders improved a bit, but that's one of the reasons why we now have a new defensive coordinator, got a new defensive backs coach. So if anything, he helped us grow.
All right, that's good though, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's better than going into the next week and hitting some of these I don't want to say. I just guess more talented teams that D1, these more talented D1 programs that better than hitting them with what you had and then
exactly. I 100% agree with you. And like I said, he's a former Bobcat. I'm always going to be in his corner. I'm going to be a Western Kentucky fan as well.
All right, we're gonna move on to final thoughts. Before we do, let's hear a quick word from Jay Chandler and Conno's Diamonds and Coins.
It's hard to believe how reckless some people can be and how hard they fight against real victims. You need a partner who consistently beats the Giants and who will never, ever flinch.
When it comes to unique pieces you can't find anywhere else, Conno's Diamonds and Coins is your one-stop shop. With over 24 years in the diamond and coin industry, Conno's Diamonds and Coins is West Texas's choice for diamonds, jewelry, coins, silver, and gold. Owner Bill Conno stands by his work and offers free consultations, including estate jewelry. Don't just trust anyone with your valuables. Come see the staff at Conno's at 1016 West Beauregard in San Angelo.
Besides Chase Campbell, he's got to be my vote. He's my early favorite for next year's COVER1 MVP for the South Plains. I don't see anyone slowing him down. It's like any opponent that he comes up against, he's going to get his catches, he's going to get his numbers. I'd like to see Lubbock Cooper take a step forward in the quarterback position next year. Don't exactly know who's going to start there, but they have the coaching for it. But as far as Central goes, let's see some Colton Hill action.
Yeah, I was going to say Colton Hill.
He has the talent. He just needs to stay healthy, and no matter what position he plays, because I still don't think it would be a mistake to move him to quarterback at this point. Holden Phillips played a different position before his senior year, and all of a sudden now he's throwing 57 touchdown passes. So as far as Central goes, I'd like to see Colton Hill do it.
All right, I'm looking at some of these small schools. I maybe Landon York. Are we looking at maybe Landon York possibly making this list?
I don't see why not.
I mean, he put up fantastic numbers this year.
Yeah, and with another year of experience running the spread. I mean, I get he's playing at a small school, but why not? I mean, look what he did for Wall,
I wouldn't be surprised if Wall pushes the ball down the field more next year. It's almost like they were getting comfortable all season, And by week 8 or 9, it's like they're really in their groove.
Right.
And then when they hit the playoffs, they start smacking people around. And even the Gunter game, until Gunter made those adjustments to completely shut down the outside screen game, it looked like Wall was going to win that one too. So Landon York's capable. Like I think he needs to push the ball down the field a little bit more in things other than just like a fade route or a deep post. But yeah, he has the talent.
Yeah, and the guys around him, we got 3 linemen coming back, 3 of his top receivers. He's just losing Briggs, so it's all there.
Just that defense. You have some holes that are going to pop up on defense that you got to replace, but I don't think they'll have a problem replacing those guys. Slaughter rebuilt that defense when they had 3 players returning overall on both offense and defense. 3 of them returned on the offense. They had none returning on defense, and Slaughter just completely rebuilt that defense. And then they even adjusted their defense. When they went and lost to Canadian that first time, they said, we're changing up our defense. They changed up their defensive scheme to put more athletes out there on the field. They went to 3-3 stack, and
worked out for them.
Yeah, they whooped Canadian this year pretty good. But as far as the small, I'm kind of hoping Liam Yancey makes some waves from out at Miles. Lujan made the list at Sunray. I don't see why he couldn't make the list from Miles. I really feel like watching him this year, I definitely think he's got the ability to be one of those guys, and he's going to have to hold that team together next year. They are losing a bunch of seniors outside, so he's really going to be able to showcase what makes him special. And I really feel like he's going to be the guy to do it in the Concho Valley.
Hey, you beat a team like Albany, you'll make the waves.
Oh, absolutely. But this has been our kind of super team, Whataburger Super Team wrap-up for